Hey everyone, welcome back to AsArt with Nick and John. Today we're going to be talking about Season 1 of WandaVision, more specifically the visual effects. So go ahead and check out AsArt.space for the audio and video links. We post new content weekly, so subscribe if you want to stay notified. So Nick kind of talked me into this one. Some really crazy visual effects, huge budget. So let's go ahead and dig into this. You want to go and give us like the general breakdown?
So we're basically going to be breaking down the last fight sequence, the last episode, because that was probably the most visual effects heavy out of all the episodes. But if you guys like visual effects breakdowns, we've covered movies from Harry Potter. We're going through epic Lord of the Rings, The Boys, you name it. We're starting to cover it with VFX breakdowns, even small stuff like Call of the Wild with the dog and the CG dog, which was a lot of fun breaking down and stuff like that.
Or the Narnia BBC.
Oh, yes, the Narnia. Oh, my gosh,
Yes.
That's right. 1988, right? Yeah.
80.
Okay, so let's jump into it. So we have Vision, which is created from Wanda's memory, and we have original White Vision, which is like a new take on Vision, battling it out. Okay, it's something I have to say, like, I am super impressed of the quality and stuff for a show. Like, I mean, think about it. It was like 25 million an episode, and there's like 8 episodes, so that's what, like $200 million. That's as much as a major superhero movie, the cost of it. And it's much longer when it comes to the time. Well, maybe it is, because I think the episode's worth like 30 minutes each.
Oh, 30 minutes each. So you got to figure a high end, we're talking, ultra high end Marvel movie might be, 300 something million dollars, or at least they used to be. You think of old Pirates of the Caribbean, Matrix, things like that, very expensive. But this is a long series as well. Yeah. It's not just a single movie. So you have to figure whatever the budget for a modern Marvel movie or superhero movie would be, you have to divide it by how many episodes they did, and you have to stretch that budget. There would usually be a 2 hour and 15-minute movie over however long the entire season 1 is. So it's hard to keep that quality. You can have the same amount of visual effects shots, but keeping them all the same quality is super difficult. And overall, this holds up very, very well. And you can't expect it to be like Avengers Endgame quality, because that's the culmination of a huge amount of years of stuff they've been doing, and the whole phase that they're rounding out. But really, really cool stuff.
I mean, it's cool though, because like it has to almost match Endgame, right? Because you have similar superheroes with the same powers. Like you can't change the way Vision's powers look, or even Wanda's. I mean, maybe Wanda's if she gets an upgrade or something like that, like a power upgrade. But like you can't really change it, right? Or else it won't translate between the movie and the show. So they're stuck with a certain standard of quality, right? Not like, obviously not like full on movie quality, but like it's really close. Like it's super close. Like the visual effects artist, great job. I had no idea how many people were actually working on this, and they're time constrained too, because like who knows what happened with everything going on in 2020 and things got pushed back and timelines and. They're not allowed to work from home, because you know what happens if you work from home? You can easily leak this stuff because it's like on your private computer and all that stuff. So, I mean, there was probably a lot of dancing around to get this show done and stuff like that. And
the only thing I can say that maybe would be a redeeming quality for a series like this that is using some of the same characters is, you imagine the first Iron Man film, they had to get his suit and everything working in CG. Once you have the assets, it is easier to do things from there. You know what you're in for. Even if you don't have the same budget, you can recreate it more quickly. It doesn't make individual shots and quantities easier, but at least you have the core assets. So they have the Vision assets for digital double shots. They have his overall, looks of what his effects look like. So it maybe helps a little bit, but it's a massive amount of work to have to try and do.
Yeah. So one thing I wasn't a fan of, and I think I'm never a fan of it when it comes to superhero movies, like when superheroes have the ability to fly. Like Superman and stuff, because like it's so weightless, right? Like because they're just like floating, and it totally looks like wire effects. But even if it's a CG character just kind of gliding across the screen, like it bugs the heck out of me. Like I know, like I just like weight and stuff. Like that's why I enjoy Iron Man, especially the original ones. How like you have the weight of him like trying to balance with his hand, and like the foot's going up. It's like you can see like the thrusting happening.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. The gravity is the big. So when you see Iron Man use his thrusters the first time, it's kind of this balancing thing, almost like he's on a balancing beam, even though it's it's propulsion. Whereas, I mean, really, when you get into it, when you have Superman flying, you have Vision flying, it's magic, you know. So it doesn't need to look real, it really but it doesn't look real to us at that point. Whereas when you get, I think there was maybe a couple Superman shots in Man of Steel where the first time he's flying or something,
like jumps off the ground almost, right?
You kind of get this rippling of the cape. It's like you almost feel like he's trying to, you know, get the gravity. And I haven't seen it in a long time, so maybe I'm not remembering correctly. But when you have this struggle, it feels like you're struggling with gravity to get going. It feels more real. But as they get a mastery of their powers, it shouldn't feel like it's a struggle anymore.
I know. It's just,
that makes it look less real.
It 100% works with physics and what's happening, but it just doesn't work up here for me. Because I'm so like gravity, something has to be pushing it down with the force. And it's so funny because like even when they're fighting, it just feels like they're floating, and which even happens in this Batman v Superman, like when they grab someone, like just I mean they're so strong, right? Like there is no weight to it, and it just like feels like, or compared to like, I remember like when Iron Man fought the Hulk, there's just so much weight going on, right? Because like Iron Man's like throwing the Hulk, they're connected by like the hand thing, and things are breaking, and you can just feel the weight of the Hulk, like even when the Hulk jumps and stuff. But like with these guys, they're just like phasing through each other too and everything. So it's just like, you know, this is total like magic realm. And then the witch, the bad witch Agnetha or whatever, the way she's like floating with her cape, it's just like, it's so funny. Like I know that's how the powers work and everything, but for me it just does not translate right. And how like whenever Wanda or Vision fly, they always do the thing where they have one knee bent. It's like, wait, does that help with aerodynamics or something? Like to have one knee bent when you take off? Like, what is that? Like, I just don't understand why every superhero has to have one knee bent like this way. You know, I just don't understand it.
Well, you know what? I would say we complain about this almost in every shit. Like Raised by Wolves, when the necromancer or whatever is flying, we had the same thing. It looked too smooth. One movie I can think of in the past, and it wasn't an overly loved scene at the time, but where you do get the sense of the weight, is the third Matrix movie. When they're fighting, when they're flying, like you felt like they always were having to combat gravity, and they had to make these really wide turns and things like that. That felt to me a little bit more real, and they had to get momentum and stuff like that. But at the same time, it made for maybe a less dynamic fight because they were fighting, you know, gravity and stuff and inertia a lot as well. So it's hard to get it really. Okay, we have to make this
there's
feel
no
real,
right
but we
way
have to make it
or wrong way.
Be fun. Yeah, exactly.
Because I mean,
you have to make it
doing
fun. Something
that hasn't ever existed. I think the animated movie Megamind did a good job with the flying heroes and stuff. But I don't know if it's because they're like sometimes swimming in the air and it's like more of a comedy thing. But like I literally remember like it'll come up and then they'll like settle still. Like they still have that like the animated arcs where they'll like, you know, come up and settle, and then they're like floating in a space. Where this one just like it's almost like if you look at the graph editor, probably it's just like a linear line. There's probably no even curves or anything. It's just like stop. But you know, it looked fantastic. The fight scenes were fun. It's always fun to see the magic effects too. Like, gosh, I wonder what they used for that. If it's like a fluid thing or if they have. I'm just so curious because I have no idea. But I'm guessing it would be like a fluid effect, right? Like for the magic, for the Red Scarlet stuff.
Houdini type stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it looks so good though, and I know it's probably like pretty simple to do now, and they probably have it like on like a preset in their studio, but it just looks
Vision
so cool.
Preset 1.
But you know, it just looks so cool, especially like in the, like
cool.
even the absorbing and stuff. Like it looked really good.
And that type of stuff can look very cheesy if it's not done well. Like when you have lasers and force lines and stuff, it can look really, really cheesy unless you do it well. And obviously they have that stuff down now. Yeah.
And then the epic pose of the family, right? The family comes together. What did that remind you of, John? It reminded me of something.
Everything.
Well, I was going to say The Incredibles, the family. It's like the same exact shot. It's like a low angle and they come up and you see like the trucks and the bad guys and they're like all doing their superhero pose. Like, all right, it's family kick butt time kind of thing. So, you know.
Oh man. Yeah, I mean, I got a little bit of a feeling of like when they're doing that reveal shot in the Avengers when they're all going around and it's like, here we're all assembled. But which is like the most famous, I think, Avengers shot, but it's famous for a reason. It was at the time, it was a cool shot, you know. Whenever you hear about Avengers, they always show that shot. Yeah, for sure.
It's either that or you have like the slow motion shot of everyone walking together with an explosion in the background.
The Reservoir Dogs, yeah.
they all got glasses on too and stuff like that.
Yes,
Sunglasses,
yeah, that's Reservoir Dogs. Yeah.
Anything else that stood out to you with the effects or anything?
You know, I think the biggest thing for me was just that for how much footage and how long the season 1 series is, I think they did a really good job. It's not fair to hold it to the theater releases that they had, and you know, Disney kind of said like, hey, the goal is.
I mean, it kind of looks similar. Like, I'm not gonna harp on the last Avengers film, Endgame, but like, there's so much visual effects stuff going on. It almost comes across like, you know, like fake, right? Because there's so much visual effects, and that last fight scene where they all have like their hero moments and they're playing
there's
football.
So much stuff going on.
You know, there's so much stuff going on where, you know, it's just like it could be, you know, I don't know, like to me this may sound crazy, but I still think the first Iron Man VFX looks better for Iron Man than the newer Iron Man movies. I don't know what it is with like the suit like growing on him and stuff. It just feels so fake and CG. And where like the first time when the helmet fell on his face, it almost was like a real helmet, like shutting down. But now it's just like, and it like keeps their hair perfectly like in, so when it comes off, the hair is like movie perfect and ready. Where like even in the first Avengers movie, like you can tell like he was actually wearing a suit. And I think one of the best like Iron Man suits was in Iron Man 2 when he has like a briefcase and he puts his hands in it. And he's like,
oh, that's right. Yeah.
And like he does the thing and it was like building around him. Like that was so cool. And now it's just, he's like taps a button and it like liquid gels on him, which is cool because everyone's powers has to get better. But I just think I prefer more of like actually seeing him walk and each piece coming on his head and stuff to make it feel like he's, you know, Iron Man. But
well, you know, I was thinking too, if you think back to the old Star Wars, the 1980s movies, the first time you see a lightsaber ignite in a scene, you see the whole thing. But after that, they assume, okay, you already know what this looks like. We've already showed you. Now we're just going to hear the sound, or we're going to see the start of it animating. Same thing with Back to the Future. When they have the DeLorean going back in time the first time, you see it completely disappear. You have the, you know, the tire fire and stuff like that. But after that, they just have it go off screen and you have some strobe lights go off. And so once you've seen something a number of times, the spectacle of that isn't going to hold the same weight. So they don't do that as much. So, all right, at this point, we just need to get Iron Man in his suit and it's going to be a really quick thing. But at the same time, I still feel like you're right about the more recent Avengers and Marvel movies. There's so many visual effects that it doesn't carry the same visual weight.
Yeah.
And so in Iron Man, the first Iron Man movie, there wasn't that many there was a lot of visual effect shots, but they weren't nearly as consistently on screen as they are now. And so they carried more weight. And there is, you know, George Lucas definitely put a lot of visual effects, special effects and visual effects. But he always said, he goes, you know, visual effect without a story is a boring thing. And there's always a story to the Marvel movie stuff and how they combine all the powers.
Which is great, and it totally really works too. Like I'm not trying to
still just
diss
so
on
much
it,
more.
but I think there's just maybe there's too many visual shots.
I would agree.
Not
I think so.
Not big enough teams. They don't have enough time, so it's crunched, and it's one of those things where it's like, you know, bust it out, render it. Hey, we have this shot's done because we have to get on to the next shot. You know what I mean, kind of thing. So I mean,
do you think it's one of the things too that every movie it feels like you're having to up the ante? You're having, okay, we have these individual Marvel heroes. Now we have the first Avengers. Now we're getting to the other Avengers movies. We have to have it. Now they're at the point where we have to show all this flash of substance, or it's going to look like a cop out, or it's not going to. Do you think it's kind of that too? Like, okay, we have to put all this in here, even though it's not necessarily? Or
I hope not.
Audience are used to it.
Yeah, I know. I guess it's tough, right? Because like once you see something, you expect like a level, but like
yeah.
And then also there's a lot of other cool stuff which we didn't talk about. There's the whole decades thing where they go through the 50s. They shot on like original black and white cameras. They had, what's his name there from the Dick Van Dyke Show? Was it that? He was actually on set, like giving them directions on how it would be filmed and how the acting would happen and stuff like that. And like every timer was so cool. Like it was so cool to jump through Malcolm in the Middle to like, you know, the Brady Bunch time airs. And it was like my wife watched the show together because she really liked the beginning of it, but then once the magic came in and stuff, she was starting to like kind of drift off. She was more like towards the decades, and she liked the decades and like you know, like the inspiration from each episode came from a different time era of TV. But then like the last 2 or 3 was just kind of very bland because it kind of got back into the Marvel. I don't want to say it's bland, but like it's not what the show started out as. It kind of ended as a Marvel movie where it started off like a cool play on different genres of TV shows and stuff like that. They should have did Breaking Bad. They should have had like Vision in the back, with some whatever, cooking up some stuff to sell. But
it was cool. I remember when the first couple episodes came out, a lot of people were writing like, yeah, WandaVision's really weird, but Marvel has earned the right to try something different. I'm glad they did that because they need to try something different. And you know what? It kind of brought you through, like, what is this? What's going on here? And then it almost like a mystery for the viewer. It led you into, okay, this is what's going on. This is what it is. And then you get that resolution. So it's cool because it's a single standalone thing. So let me ask,
props to trying something different, Disney.
Yes, for sure.
I know it's really tough for Disney too. Like, it's really tough because they like really want to make money and make sure everything's good and stuff like that. So they're very like, let's not do stuff, but we'll let Rian Johnson direct The Last Jedi and just really mess everything up. Go on, John. I'm sorry.
But yeah, no, I'm just glad that they did try something different. And obviously it had roots in, the whole WandaVision thing. It wasn't like they just completely did something off the wall. But they took a chance on this, and I think most people really enjoyed it. And it opens the door to trying different things in the future. And, Disney said from early on, like, this is an opportunity for us to give our non-feature Marvel heroes, not the Iron Mans, not the Captain Americas, to give them time to get people really invested in those characters. And then if they really hit strongly, then we can make them into theatrical releases as well. So I think that's a cool way to do things. Like, all right, this is almost like our testing grounds. Yeah. Obviously a $20-something million per episode testing ground, but it's a way that they can really see what works and try different things.
They're making it off of Disney Plus.
Exactly. So it's working out great, I think. And, it's been a really fun thing to be able to see them trying. And like you said, a lot of companies will not try anything outside of what they know is going to hit because, well, we have to keep the company profitable for our shareholders and all this other stuff.
Wonderful stuff. Huh? Well, let us know what you guys think. If you guys watch the show, if you like the visual effects, if you like the story, even though we really didn't talk much about the story, everyone else is talking about the story and theories. We're going to talk about the VFX because we're VFX artists and we like to talk about VFX. And then let us know if you want to watch more WandaVision, or if you think there should be more visual effects in the show, or you think there should be less visual effects in the show. Let us know. So that's actually what I was going to ask you, Nick, and then also the audience is, are you excited for more potential? I mean, this kind of story has kind of played itself aside from the ending, where you have, kind of the kids in the multiverse. Do you think we could get more seasons of WandaVision, or because the whole illusion is broken? Yeah,
do you think
I hope it's just a
standalone thing?
One and done, like Watchmen. Because I want. I mean, obviously she's gonna be. I think she's gonna be in the Spider-Man movie and the Doctor Strange movie. So I think it's just one of those things where, like, hopefully, like, they'll be able to, like, okay, Doctor Strange had his movie. Let's do a little series with Doctor Strange, because it'll be fun to do stuff like that. Or even like bring out other superheroes that are connected that also do stuff like that too, and just do little spin-off series. Because some of my favorite superhero stuff is the animated stuff. Because the animated stuff, they can go deep into lore and comic book stuff, and it'll be fun to kind of go deep and see other characters that you would never see on screen, like the Bad Witch. You would have never have made it to a big movie kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, it was just cool to see that.
And you know what? One thing I'll say, I was trying to think of a good comparison of why I think WandaVision worked really well visually is a lot of my friends talked about these Netflix, Marvel series that they used to have before Disney Plus was around. And was it
Daredevil?
The Cage, Daredevil.
Luke Cage, Jessica Jones.
They did not look anywhere near kind of Disney theatrical releases, whereas this looked like a Disney theatrical release quality. So,
but I would say I think I like Daredevil more with the story and everything.
Oh,
the first Daredevil with the season and everything. What Daredevil's cool because it's like a Batman character, right? He can get beat up. I mean, obviously, he has some kind of powers, but not like Wanda and Vision powers. Like Wanda and Vision in the comic books, like those are some of the strongest heroes that like in the Marvel universe, which is so cool to see a show based on like the strongest heroes. But like Daredevil on the other hand is just like, you want to go punk, boom, 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 boom. Like he's punching and he's getting beat up and stuff like that. But Netflix did a great job with the first season of Daredevil and the Punisher show. I really enjoyed the Punisher show on Netflix. Really good stuff.
So that goes to your point of, okay, story is more important than effects. I was speaking more from the effects standpoint.
I'm sorry. Yes, that's right. Because we're talking about effects. You're right. Yeah.
But that's a good point, though. It's like, okay, story is always going to be the most important thing.
You know, it's funny you said that because I did not like it once they gave Daredevil his outfit. I liked it because at first he was just like, you know, he just had like a black mask over his head and he was wearing all black with like boxing tape on his fist and stuff, and he was like just beating people up. Then when he got his like costume, I was like, I don't know if I'm digging the show as much now. It kind of looks cheesy with the costume, but which was cool to see. WandaVision's costume too. They gave her the comic book costume. They gave her like the little headpiece and the red and all that stuff. So that was fun to see because she has not had the comic book costume yet. So yeah.
Let us know what you thought of this season. Do you want to see more? Do you think that was good as a standalone? Where do you think the series goes from there? It was a really kind of fun thing to look at as far as Disney bridging the gap on what they feel is online and theater content. Really, really fun stuff. So let us know down below. Check out AsArt.space for the audio and video links, and we'll see you on the next AsArt.